Hey, folks, this is Rabble Rouse from Rich Bergeron.
Ladies and gentlemen, the Tornado, Tony Pennico.
And Psychic Tom Paget with his crystal ball ready to go.
All right. And, it looks like...
So, first of all, Happy New Year, guys.
Happy New Year!
Yes, sir.
I haven't talked to you since last year.
Right? It's been a year.
Yeah. And now it's like we're in 2022 or 2022.
2022. Yeah, it seems like it because, we're starting off the year with this new big strain of COVID and everybody's freaking out. And I don't know if you guys caught any of this Dr. Robert Malone stuff with Joe Rogan. I almost called Joe Dr. Joe Rogan. Oh, man.
I did not.
But,
yeah, I listened to a lot of it.
Oh, man. I listened to it just sleeping one day. I was just like, it's a 3-hour interview. I'm just going to play it while I'm going to bed. And so, yeah, I just kind of caught the periphery of it and some of the clips that were out there. But, this is a guy who is vaccinated. Does not say that you should not get vaccinated. He just says he's kind of against doing it to the kids. And also, it should be targeted towards the people who really need it. Not every single person on the face of the planet. Even though supposedly, there's been a lot of young people to get it in good health and still have died. Who knows what the general overall circumstances of those situations are, though. And the thing that blows my mind is the numbers. The numbers they always throw at us. We know from the very beginning that, car crashes were being recorded as COVID deaths because, hey, you get $30,000 for every COVID death. And I've never heard that disputed. That's the fact. So, I don't know. It's just one of those things. It just doesn't make a lot of sense. But this guy, he's basically saying he's one of the guys that came up with the patents for mRNA vaccines. And he's just warning us, like, hey, listen, at least this is how the pharmaceutical companies operate. And the most chilling part of the whole thing for me was that he said, I warned the people in the CIA, I gave them the protocol for what China was doing with this. And he didn't say it outright, but he kind of hinted that, China was using ivermectin from the beginning and stuff like that. So, and the CIA was given information to say that, to show that, and it was working. And then Joe Rogan ended up telling Dana White, when he got the COVID as well, the stuff that got him through it, and Dana gets through it in like 3 days. And actually tested negative very quickly afterwards. So, I don't know. This new one is weird because they're saying that it's not as bad, it's like the common cold, but yet again, we have all these hospitalizations, which they're blaming on it. And it's like, I thought, after 2 years of going through this since 2020, we would not have the possibility of so many more conspiracy theories at this point. But it's just nuts. When does it end?
Good luck with that, bro.
When does it end?
Well, and you know what? I was walking with my dad today. We were talking, different things. And the one thing I said the other day is, like, I have a friend of mine. And I grew up with him. I haven't seen him in a couple of years, but we still communicate on Facebook and social media. About a year ago, he got COVID. He had it before me. And he had it, or he wasn't in the hospital, but he was really down and out for a couple of days. And he goes, that's something I wouldn't wish on anybody. Okay? And he's a year older than me, so he'd be about 46, maybe 47. He then got vaccinated, got his booster. I don't know what vaccine he got. And he just tested positive again the other day. He goes, I'm celebrating my birthday. Testing positive again. So I'm like, dude, you've had it. You're vaccinated and booster. I'm like, Jesus Christ. So that doesn't leave you with a whole lot of confidence. So now, they're saying, like, okay, everything in the world, adapts. Humans adapt. humans evolve. Viruses adapt. Viruses evolve. So now it's like, okay, you get a strain and it mutates, and it's like, okay, these things are self-sustaining. So it's finding where it's like not effective as it once was. It adapts, and it goes around. It takes a detour. And I mean, I was saying to my dad the other day, it's like, my parents got their shots February, March of last year. They got their boosters in September. I got my shot after having COVID in April and May. Got my booster in December, about 3 weeks ago. And I'm like, you know what? All of us are going to get it. You guys are going to get it for the first time, and hopefully it's mild, and I'm going to get it again. So it's like, I'm already remiss of the fact that I'm going to get this again. And you say, okay, I hope it's like a 3-day with a cough, whatever, I'm done. Like the Eagles coach, Nick Sirianni, they played a game on a Tuesday night a couple weeks ago. Tuesday night, he tested positive on Wednesday, and he was negative by Sunday. So I think what we're getting now is for a lot of, quick hitting, sicknesses, almost like a 24-hour deal anymore, and that's what you're hoping. And now the biggest concern...
Yeah, we call it herd immunity?
Concerned about this. Well, what'd you say? Herd immunity, yeah, absolutely. A friend of mine, my friend Mike, last week, him and Dominic had colds. He goes, I went to the urgent care. He goes, let me even take my son. I took my son to an urgent care. It opens at 8 o'clock. We got there at 7:45. We were around the block, so we left. I went back the next day. I got there at 7. I was the 6th person in line an hour before they opened. Because now everybody's like panicking, like, oh my God, I gotta get tested. I fucking got tested 3 times this week. And guess what? We were both negative each time. But now everybody's like, every time you sniff, oh my God, I got it.
Right.
And that's why they're running kits, and they're running out. Like, people now are just getting tested to get tested. I want to make sure I don't have it. When this first started happening about 2 years ago, I remember it was like right around the springtime. I just gotten back from Florida, and this is when like everything was really getting scary. Things were getting shut down, and we have one of those touchless thermometers where you just scan it across your head and it gives you like your temperature. We were taking our temperature like 4 and 5 and 6 times a day, like every hour. Let me take my temperature, make sure I'm not getting a fever. Right. That's how much in a panic you are. Now that panic is starting to get where everybody's like, I gotta get tested, I gotta get tested, I gotta get tested. Do you feel sick? No, but I gotta get tested. Why?
Yeah, exactly.
I could have it. You feel.
And then they're trying to discourage the test by saying, well, it could be a positive up to 12 days after you've had it. So, what good is that? I mean, we're not doing contact tracing anymore, are we? We don't have experts going out there tracing every fucking person you contact, unless you're in the sport, like the NFL. We're not doing it in the general population, so why would you do so much testing? Especially when they said in the beginning, like, how inaccurate it is. We don't have to mention Tommy Morrison, but is the Tommy Morrison's widow there is going after one of the testing companies for the positive AIDS test, but or HIV test. But in the beginning, I believe they said they were like 49% accurate. Now they're all of a sudden saying, well, yeah, they're accurate. So is the PCR test. I don't know. They don't know. But they're going to spend millions and millions of dollars on them, sending them to people. So I guess you got to use them. But anyway.
Yeah. Well, it all comes down to money,
Basically. They got to make their money back somehow. But anyway, we have a lot to catch up on. We had a lot of boxing action. We didn't have much MMA action. We had none, really. Except maybe overseas. But we had the Christmas Day fight. Vito Mielnicki pretty much wiped the floor with Nicholas Dalumba. On that same card, Clay Collard got his butt kicked by a guy named Yo Elvis Gomez. What a rough year for him.
Bad.
Yeah. He do so hot in the PFL tournament.
The Clay Collard fight, and I've gotten to like him over the years. I saw the Milnicki fight, and I saw the Joey Spencer fight. So the Clay Collard was probably when we were driving home from my aunt's house. We watched the Joey Spencer fight over my aunt's Christmas dinner. Then we got home in time to see the Milnicki fight.
Yeah, he's looking pretty good. I mean, I thought this guy's got a lot of experience. I'm thinking, he's going to bring the fight, but no, he really didn't. He slugged back a little bit, a couple times, made it a game, but Vito just kind of cruised through everything, and it didn't look like he got hurt once. It's definitely a good tune-up, basically. A step-up tune-up type of fight at the same time. And then we had some real big fights last weekend on New Year's Day. Luis Ortiz pulling out the crazy come-from-behind win over Charles Martin. And it kind of looked sloppy from what I read. I did not see the fight. But then another heavyweight fight worth talking about. Frank Sanchez beating Christian Hammer.
You know what I'm wondering on that fight card? That fight card must have not been selling well at all. Because they had originally...
everybody was hungover.
For like $39.
Yeah.
Well, that part of it was being, hungover. I sure know I was. I was over at my friend's house. I'm going to tell you something funny about that in a minute. I'm going to have to... First, Rich, you've probably seen about send them to Tom as well. My entire New Year's Eve, normally I don't do house parties because you're stuck in a house and people are like, there's no music going on. It's usually, a little tame for my taste. They had some kids there and the kids wanted to bang their pot and pans, and that's fine. I'm a guy I like a band, I like a DJ, I like a lot of music, I like it loud, but the only places really by me weren't doing anything. The place I went to the last few years, aside from last year, was doing a one-man solo artist doing Beatles covers. I said, this place is going to be dead as shit. There's going to be like 6 people there, and they're all going to be, much older than me. So that doesn't seem like a happening spot. So I said, okay, I'll go to my friend's house. Had this shiny silver shirt on with the sleeves cut off, a tie that lights up. I had the batteries for it. I went to 3 places, but I did. A hat that lights up, and I said, if they brought me up to Times Square and the ball malfunctioned, you could just lower me. My one friend goes, they wouldn't lower you, they would just toss you off, and as soon as you splattered, it'd be the new year. But then my friends all passed out, and then I kept going till 4 in the morning, and then I was up at 8 a.m. at the gym. My friends like, you're out of your mind. I'm like, I know. Got my gym in the next morning, then I went home, and then I finally crashed. Finally, then I was like, all right, I am done. I am crashed. But you're right. Part of it was people were being hungover. Part of it, unless it's Balboa Creed 1, we're not watching a fight on New Year's Day.
Yeah.
But also, it was like, that's not a fight card that's going to draw a big audience, especially on a holiday. Will casual fans tune in to Fury Wilder? Absolutely. Will casual fans tune in to Mayweather McGregor? Of course. Will casual fans tune in to Canelo now? Probably. Will casual fans turn into Luis Ortiz and Charles Martin? Absolutely not. Hardcore fans like myself, I'm like, I'm not paying for that fight. I have no interest in that fight. They dropped it to $9.99. I still didn't get it. I mean, like I said, I slept all night. But I'm like, that was telling me right there, though, like, we got to get these numbers up and quick. Because someone's not saying, I'm not going to spend $40. It's but yeah, I'll spend 10. Watch those fights.
Yeah, definitely. Oh, it's not a very good weekend this weekend either. Saturday especially. Jeez. There's literally only 5 fight cards. The whole world, according to BoxRec, on Saturday. Guess what, though? We got a mismatch of the week. Big mismatch. Guess what the guy's name is who's going to be the winner? Pavel Sauer. S-O-U-R. And the matchmaking is very sour. Because his opponent, he's 13-6, Pavel Sauer. Not crazy world beater, but wait till you see the other guy. This is in the Czech Republic. Better check on this guy. His name is Jan Hrebek. His record is 2-23-0. No draws. All losses. 2-23.
No draws.
No draws. He's not paid to draw. He's paid to lose. Oh, I hate to meet those two guys he beat. We'll have to investigate that further since we have not much else to talk about for Saturday. Well, the co-main event is pretty interesting. I don't know who's going to win this one. Light heavyweights. Karel Horodzek, who is 17-13-3, fighting Jindrich Valecki, who is 19-58 with one draw. The one draw. One. Yikes. Another guy is 3-45 on this card, fighting somebody in their debut performance. We got some Asian titles on the line in Taipei, Taiwan. I'm going to try to pronounce those names. I guess this guy's an easy one. Chia Ching Hung. How about that one? Chia Ching Hung. 5-1-1 for the vacant Boxing Council, Asian Boxing Council Silver Super Featherweight title. How do you put that one on the belt? His opponent is Yuchi Lee. Yuchi Lee. C-H-E. 6-2-2 is his record. And then the big one in Florida on Saturday. Bantamweights in the main event. Lawrence Newton, 14-0, and Mario Hernandez, 10-2, with one draw. But both of those two losses and the one draw have been in his last six. How's that opponent feel here? Nothing spectacular, clearly, on the undercards. Everybody in the right column's got a losing record, except for the guy making his debut against the other guy making his debut. Cleveland Billingsley III. How about that for a boxer's name? That's a heavyweight. Cleveland Billingsley III. He's fighting Fernley Feliz Jr. Wow. Feliz Jr. is 1-0 as a heavyweight. Cleveland Billingsley III is 3-6. That's it, really. Wait a second. Argentina. Still Argentina to talk about here. That's where the mismatch of the week is, too. Or no, that was in Czech Republic. There's another one, though, that's kind of close. We got Lucas Bryan Ariel Bastidia. He is 17-1-1 at middleweight, fighting Abel Nicholas Adriel, who is 25-22-3. Super welterweights in the main event. Christian Nicolos Andino, 16-2, fighting Christian Javier Ayala, who is 6-1-1, and is for the WBA Fedebowl Super welterweight title. That's it. That's all your action for Saturday. Next Saturday is going to be a little bit bigger. Let's look at Jan Hrebek, the 2-23 guy, and embarrass the two guys he beat. Oh, by knockout too. Oh man, one of them was 10-0. Back in 2018, his first win of his career was against a guy who was 10-0. That's a shocker. No surprise on the other guy. 2019, August 17th, recorded his second victory over Rudolph Merco, who had 3 wins.
Reindeer?
Yeah. Rudolph had 3 wins, 88 losses, and 2 draws at the time. I'm just going to check out how this 10-0 guy turned out. Wouldn't it be funny if that one loss derailed his entire career? 14-1 is how he ended up. Didn't have a long career, obviously. guess what? The one was his only loss. By knockout. All 14 by KO, by the way, the wins. And all of them in Germany. But yeah, fought mostly losing record guys. No surprise there. But, no. Jan Hrebic, when he was 0-9, took out the 10-0 guy. Crazy. Heavyweight too. Nuts. Alright, so it's going to be a while, but we do have UFC on ESPN 32 upcoming on the 15th. And I gotta say, congratulations to Sherdog for coming into the 20th century, finally. With your fight cards, they got a whole new look on Sherdog.com. And what a concept! Putting the weight next to every fight. So I don't have to click on the guy's name to find out what weight he fights at. Yeah, great job, Sherdog. Thanks for catching up. I like it. It's actually cleaner. It's more compact. Everything's in the center of the screen. So anyway, the main event for January 15th in Nevada. Calvin Kattar and Giga Chikadze. And boy, they're really throwing Kattar to the wolves. Boston guy. Boston area, tough kid, and has been working his way up, and they've just been throwing him to these wolves. He's had some tough fights, but he's going up against a little bit younger guy this time. He's just going to have to avoid all that power, because Chikadze just has some explosive power. He's only 14-2 compared to 22-5 for Calvin, but man, for a featherweight, he can really hit people. It's scary, you know. The only thing that I could say that his weakness is he likes to take pictures, you know. Teddy Atlas would call it, you know. He throws a good shot and you take a picture. He wants to take a picture.
One of his favorite phrases.
So Giga does that a lot. You know, he's very overconfident at times. Sometimes it pays off. Other times, you know, he could get caught. So that's Calvin's tip of the week there, if he's listening. The co-main event, Muslim Salikov, 18-2, fighting Michael Pereira, who's 26-11. That's welterweight. You can say that now. We know the weights. All right, Caitlin Chookagian, 16-4 at flyweight, fighting Jennifer Maia, 19-7-1. That's an interesting matchup there. Brandon Royval at flyweight as well, 12-6, fighting Rogerio Bontorin, who is 17-3. We got another heavyweight bout here. Jake Collier, 12-6, fighting Chase Sherman, 15-8. We got Bill Algeo at featherweight, 14-6, fighting Joe Anderson Sa de Brito, who is 12-2-1. Jamie Pickett at middleweight, 12-6, versus Joseph Holmes, who is 7-1. The old guy from the Ultimate Fighter, Court McGee, 20-10 is his record at welterweight, fighting Ramiz Ramach, who is 9-3. We got Gabriel Benitez in the fourth fight tonight at featherweight, fighting TJ Brown. Benitez 22-9, Brown is 15-8. We got Dakota Bush, 8-3 at lightweight, fighting Vyacheslav Borshev, who is 5-1. Lightweight. Brian Kelleher in the second fight of the night, 23-12, fighting Sadio Kub Kakramanov, who is 9-2. Then we got Silvana Gomez Juarez, 10-3, fighting Vanessa Demopoulos, who is 6-4 in the opening bout. That is, see the weight, the strawweight fight. Really like girls. Strawweight. Alright. Tyson Fury guess what? Wants to fight Francis Ngannou with MMA gloves. Have you guys heard this?
I did. I saw some of the tweets going back and forth this morning. Certain people that I follow, like, Twitter updates, and that was one of them.
What are the rules? You want the MMA gloves, but it would be boxing rules?
Yes, that is correct.
Maybe they're talking about that triad shit, you know? They get them in the triad. Triad combat.
Yeah, let's go back to extra arms. Remember extra arms? Like that.
I don't know if it will ever materialize, but, good to talk about. Speaking of which, I'm going to play a little clip here from Jake Paul, who basically, they're calling him the greatest troll ever by getting Dana White into this mess in the first place. Hold on. I'm trying to get it to the beginning. Alright, here we go.
Dana, I accepted every part of your challenge. I said I would fight Masvidal in MMA. Steroid test me whenever the fuck you want. It is 2 weeks after my fight, and I am a fat bitch. I don't do steroids, and I take it as a compliment because there's no other excuse to me knocking out all of your champions than this kid does steroids. Look at me. Look at that. A fat bitch. If you steroid test me, then I want to steroid test every one of your fighters. You won't do it though, will you?
I use cocaine.
I'm in St. Bart's, one of the nicest beaches in the world. You're ruining my vacation. We were on a yacht party last night, Meek Mill, Drake, everybody, Mike Tyson going crazy. You have been caught with cocaine and hookers every other week.
I use cocaine.
And you think that with all the money that you have, billionaire or some shit, that you would get some fucking Botox. Because your forehead looks like a motherfucking GPS Google map, all the lines in it and shit.
I use cocaine.
And you say Masvidal is a pay-per-view superstar. Let's go to his last Instagram post. 5,000 likes or 10,000 likes or some shit. Do you realize that my mom, Pam, gets more likes than your pay-per-view superstars? Men lie, women lie, Dana White lies, numbers don't. Do you want to talk shit about my manager who was the CFO of your company that helped you sell it to Endeavor? $4 billion?
Guy that's standing in the middle, apparently that's his manager. And that guy used to be an accountant for me.
You're just a jealous, ugly fuck. You don't know what true happiness is. You're the definition of a fucking unhappy billionaire who thought that money was gonna make their lives better. Feel bad for you.
I use cocaine.
Long story short, you addressed nothing that I said. I accepted your challenge. I said I would fight MMA. I said that I would retire from boxing, and you avoided all of that shit. Hold on. Also, instant replay, there was a fucking UFO in the back of this video. Side note, but fucking Joe Rogan, aliens, we're all fucked. It shows that you are in a corner. You're a dog in a corner trying to fight to save his whole company and the embarrassment that I've put you through. Everybody sees it, and what you can't accept or love or appreciate is that I'm trying to change the sport forever, and you are one of the most selfish, capitalistic motherfuckers that I've ever seen, and everybody else needs you, Dana. I'm the only person that doesn't need you, and I don't give a fuck about you. But all these people, all your fighters, all of them, they can't say shit because you'll just bench them. You met your maker. I'm not going to stop. Welcome to the show, ladies and gentlemen.
I use cocaine.
The bottom line, Dana, is that you won't add health care for your fighters because you don't give a fuck about them. And you're too much of a greedy bitch to pay your minimum fighter more than $12,000 for risking their lives, which is what a janitor makes. You need to pay them $50,000, Dana. Stop avoiding my point.
So, I would say that drunk Jake Paul is more entertaining than sober Dana White any day of the week.
Yeah. I didn't hear the interview, but I had seen clips of on news clips of basically that transcript of what they were talking. Jake Paul coming out there and challenging Dana White to pay his fighters more than he does.
Yeah, well, a minimum of $50,000 per fight. And then also, he's been making the point that the revenue share is horrible. I mean, it's one of the lowest of any sport on the planet that's played professionally. Well, you can't say it's played. but you know what I mean. So it's just a ripe time for him to start this up, and then just the fact that Dana is responding and getting owned, like owned. I mean, this kid has a little bit of money. He has a YouTube channel that's blown up, you know, and he's making money with the boxing, and he's actually taking our thing that we started here at Fight News Unlimited, you know, the boxing versus MMA debate, and he's made it a reality. He's obviously handpicked his MMA guys, but he's made it a point to be boxing versus MMA. And he's somehow defied all the odds, and like has gone through so much criticism. I was probably ripping him at one point. I'm sure I was. But I started to see, after a few of his fights, you know, the interest that it was bringing, and the different, the different formats I didn't always like, with all the friggin' rap and, you know, all that stuff. But once he got on with Showtime, and then he picked up our other former guest, who's also now challenging Dana White, Amanda Serrano. I mean, it started to change a little bit. And then he started talking about fighter pay and, you know, kind of shooting out at Dana White. Unlike, you know, some of the other bigger organizations who have, like, a lot of people following them, like the Culinary Union, I could see Jake Paul getting in a situation where he starts a fighters union or does something along those lines to really not just post videos and call people out, but really, you know, put his money where his mouth is and do something positive for this whole fighter pay thing beyond just trying to force Dana White to do something. But back then, I just thought he was a joke.
You know what? Last year was the first time I ever really bought into one of these events, and that was Mike Tyson and Roy Jones, because it was Mike Tyson and Roy Jones.
Right.
You know, when Jake Paul was fighting Guy, I really had little to no interest in that. But, you know, then it's like, you see more and you see, okay, maybe he is applying his craft. Is he getting, you know, more recognition than guys that have really busted their ass and you know, come up the hard way? Yeah, you know, because sentiment, absolutely. You guys in Philly gyms that have, you know, been doing this since they were, you know, basically walking, and, you know, fighting their asses off, fighting for people. And this guy, just because, you know, he's a YouTube celebrity, you know, has basically pole vaulted them. The only, like I said, the card that I ever ordered was Mike Tyson and Roy Jones, because it was Mike Tyson and Roy Jones. And, yeah, was there some entertainment value to it? Absolutely. It was kind of marred in an empty arena, you know, because of COVID.
Right.
But the one thing that I really despised was, like, before every fight, there was, like, a 20-minute musical act. Now, maybe they had to sanitize the ring.
That was Triller.
COVID. And if that's the case, I agree.
That was the Triller days.
But when I get... Yeah. When I get to, like, a pay-per-view card, so just say, for argument's sake, Canelo's going to fight in Viturbiev. Hey, I want to see this fight. I'm going to order this fight. There's going to be 4 fights on the card, and it can be, you know, junior middleweight title fight, and it can be, you know, heavyweight contenders and whatever, and then you're going to get to your main event. They might have a little bit of lag time between each fight, maybe a little bit of hype between each fight, but it's not going to be a concert. I'm like, I was losing interest. I'm like, just get Tyson and Jones in the fucking ring so we can get on with this. You know? I was like, it was actually to the point of irritating me. I'm like, I'm not here for a concert. I'm here to watch the fights.
Right.
You know? And now it's like every time, it's every event now, they gotta make it like such an event to stage each other.
Right.
And just fight fans want to watch fights. You know, I know you want to attract to the. Oh my God! You know, maybe my fighting Roy Jones, I might not know them because I'm only say, 19 years old, but yo, so-and-so's going to be there, Snoop Dogg's going to be there, and he's going to, throw some, lyrics down between the fight. I'll watch some fights, but see Snoop Dogg, or I want to see, Jay-Z or whoever. And I'm like, and if that maybe gets a few more buys, I can see what they're doing, but, I'm old school. Tom, can you imagine, a pre-fight Snoop Dogg concert when Ali and Frazier were getting ready to walk in the aisle?
Yeah, it's a different planet. It's just a different planet. That's all you can say.
Yeah. Well, I stopped over at my friend Mike's house last week. I wanted to bring Dominic his Christmas gifts. So, Mike goes, hey, you want to run out, grab a beer or something, while the kid's taking a nap? I said, yeah, we'll go out and get a beer. We'll visit his one friend that was in town. So we're up there, we're talking, and I said, were you over your sister-in-law's a couple of days ago? He goes, yeah, we were over there. I forget if it was Christmas night or the night after Christmas. And I go, yeah, I could tell. He goes, why, did you see her pictures on Facebook? I said, no. I said, your idiot nephew was messaging me on Facebook about wanting to box me. I'm like, this kid's like 15 years old. He weighs about 52 pounds. But I don't know if he's got ADHD, because when he's medicated, he's like a zombie. But when he's not medicated, he's running inside and out. He doesn't sit down. And that I can appreciate with the fact that, like, he's very foul-mouthed to people at that age. He's like, yo, go get me a fucking soda. I'm like, you don't talk to me like that, kid. Mr. Pennicount, may I have a soda, please? Oh, I'll punch you in the mouth. Oh, you think? And he charged me one time. I think he got a jab. He ran right into it. And he went right down. But he's texting me, he's messaging me, I want to box you. And I'm like, oh, boy, he must be off his meds. So Mike's like, yeah, Justin was all fired up, and he's like, I'm going to box Tony, I'm going to beat his ass. Jake Paul's going to knock out Mike Tyson, because Mike Tyson's an old man. And Mike's like, you've never seen Mike Tyson fight, have you? No, but Mike showed him a fight from, like, 1986. Yeah, but that's not real. Oh, it isn't? Oh, yeah, it is, kid. Yeah, it is. They call him the best man on the planet for a reason. Mm-hmm. And then he's like, then he goes, show me what you're going to do to Tony. First thing he does, he makes a fist, and he has the thumb inside the fist. Mike's like, oh, yeah, you got a long way to go, kid. Mm-hmm. You got a long way to go if you were fighting a kid in your school, much less somebody that's a full-grown adult and has done this for 30-some years.
Right.
and wouldn't mind smacking you in the head either.
It sounds like an idiot.
Yeah, well, he's undisciplined. And, like I said, his mother is very nice. She's Mike's sister-in-law. She's his wife's sister. She's very nice. Her husband's an idiot. And it's gotten to the point, like, I was going to smack her husband in the head a few times. It was like, a few years ago, he was coming to an event that I was losing a lot of money on, and it was a BYOB event. He was messaging me every day, what's on tap, what liquors are you going to have? I said, what's on tap is whatever the hell you bring for yourself. Because I'm not supplying the alcohol for everybody. Well, I'm hoping there's going to be an open bar. Well, there's not, buddy. You bring your own shit. And she was telling me, Son, be quiet. He's already in a bad mood, and he doesn't like you. But even, like, they were going to Florida last year, and he's asking me, what hotels have open bars? I don't know. The hotel I stay at doesn't have a bar, because I go to the bar around the corner. I don't have kids to worry about. But yeah, so the sons mimic the father, and he's an idiot. And you know what Natalie says best? Because I would always get mad at this guy. She goes, and here's a piece of advice that I've taken from her. I'm going to share with you guys, and it's helped me deal with certain people. Don't get upset when an idiot says something stupid, because they're an idiot.
Right.
Be surprised if they say something smart.
Right. Good point. Speaking of
a piece of wisdom for the day.
Speaking of people saying stupid stuff, before we move on away from the whole Dana White, Jake Paul argument, feud, whatever you want to call it. War of words. One thing that I thought was interesting was Dana White focused in on this guy that supposedly used to work for him. He said it worked for me as my accountant, he said. And then he said, I think the guy is a scumbag. But he doesn't give any evidence of why he thinks the guy's a scumbag, what the history is, nothing. And all he can do is call the guy a warlock for whatever reason. I don't know why he thinks he looks like a warlock. He didn't have like a costume on or anything. I really don't know where he gets some of this shit. But I looked it up, like I do, and sure enough, not only did he have something to do with accounting, he was the CFO of the UFC at the time when they sold to Endeavor. So he was not just an accountant on a lower level, and he doesn't just work for Dana White. The big thing was, and the story is, that Dana is pissed because this guy went, after the UFC was sold, and went to work for, not the UFC, he went to work for Fertitta Capital, which was a company that, drum roll, I wish I had, a company that was trying to acquire sports teams and other things and big investments. And about that time is when not only did I consult with Michael Dell's people on the UFC sale itself, but remember when I think it was about 2018 when I was talking to some guy in Los Angeles who was from a private investigative firm out there, and this was one of the guys of everybody that's ever, piggybacked on my stuff or, done an article or an interview or anything. This guy was the most persistent. He called me at least once a day, talked to me for like a half an hour for an entire week, and then wanted every bit of information I had on the Fertittas. So I put two and two together and figured out that was the Raiders. That was the Los Angeles Raiders before they moved to Vegas, wanting to entertain a sale. And the Fertittas were, at the time, really wanting a football team. And what I think happened was, not only did they lose the Raiders, but they lost a chance at any NFL team after that, because I bet this guy and his agency shared everything with the NFL itself. And they probably said, nope, if he's going to be involved, we don't want him. So, that's just my theory on that. But I definitely know I destroyed their deal to buy the Raiders. But anyway, yeah. So this is that guy. He was one of the people that was doing all the financing stuff, and the big brain behind some of the Fertitta's success, and obviously he helped out with the sale because that was his. He was CFO at that time when that happened. So Dana has a lot to be nervous about with that guy. And maybe he thinks he's a warlock because he fucking magically made the fucking UFC worth $4.2 billion. I don't know. But he had to cast some spells to do that, I guess. Anyway. Tom, you sent us an article about Derek Ennis Sr. Says Terence Crawford should fight Jaron Ennis next, because neither fighter has a bout scheduled, and it's a natural matchup. This is according to the father of the Boots. But yeah, that's an interesting argument, but as we always know, the best fights aren't always made. Sometimes it's politics, sometimes it's scheduling, sometimes it's fear. We'll see. But Crawford, I don't know. His last fight, he obviously impressed late, but did not look good in the beginning. And it looks like, because nobody will fight him, of any note that he thinks is worthy, he loses a lot of opportunities like this, and this would be a good opportunity to really show that he can hang with somebody who's not only up and coming, but destined for great things here. Boots is a pretty formidable opponent for Crawford, but
but my feeling is give it about a year or so. I mean, I know Crawford is getting up against the age problem, but the fight needs to marinate. I mean, Boots still. I mean, we know who he is. We know how good he is.
Yeah.
But I just think a little more publicity would, just have him run through a few more contenders, go from there.
Sad story from the world of MMA. A guy was searching for some deer antlers in Missouri, and he found an MMA fighter as remains on December 22nd, and they confirmed they were David Koenig. I believe it was like a 2020 thing on him that I saw. They were looking for him for years, and it turns out he was in the woods. But yeah, he was an amateur mixed martial arts fighter from Branson, Missouri, and he was last seen in February of 2020. They just found him, and he had been staying at a motel. I remember that from the news thing that I saw, but that was the last anybody had seen him was there. Craziness. Anyway, another one is a kind of a funny story, going from a sad story to a funny story. But Dan Hooker, the UFC fighter, got in a little bit of a beef with John Jones, and it was purely social media driven beef. But it had to do with a real beef that Chael Sonnen got into with a guy in a hotel. And I believe it turned out to be a guy and his girlfriend walking by, Chael Sonnen pounding on his door, trying to get into his room or something like that. And there was something said, and Chael Sonnen got in a fight with a guy. I think it was, what's his name? Brandon Schaub put something out where he said that was actually Chael's girlfriend was there with him. And the guy said something about Chael's girlfriend, and that's what it started. He was drunk or whatever. It was at a hotel, so, I mean, obviously, I could see it happening. But anyway, so John Jones, I guess, was going after Chael Sonnen. They have a little bit of history. And basically, Dan Hooker came right back. So in reply to Jones's going after Sonnen, Hooker held back, no punches. He said, "Imagine beating up 5 people and not one of them is your wife." And he's also, Dan Hooker is a training partner of Israel Adesanya, also, a Kiwi fighter, fighting out of the city kickboxing gym in Eden Terrace. Adesanya is obviously another rival of Jones, but they trash talk with each other. And Jones, triggered by Hooker's barb, accused the lightweight contender of failing to live up to the level and expectations of Adesanya, and says he drops the ball in big fights. So apparently Jones said, "Bro, your career is simply not panning out. That's my response, LOL." And then he referenced the losses in marquee fights against Dustin Poirier, Islam Makhachev, and Michael Chandler. He says, "Every opportunity you've had to make a name for yourself and be closer to your boy Izzy, you drop the ball. You can't achieve greatness, so you hop online and attack someone who has. Sounds about right." But then Hooker fired the shot heard round the world. He said, "I was triggered by your disingenuous attempt to bring attention to Chael's situation. He was arrested for defending his wife. You were arrested for assaulting yours. Life hack. If you don't beat up your wife, family events will be more enjoyable. Merry Xmas, bitch." So yeah, that's what happened over the holiday weekend. Holiday period. John Jones and his buddy got a little closer. So anyway, Floyd Mayweather already has plans for the new year. He's going to fight the richest spoiled brat in Dubai on February 20th. Have you guys heard about this one? This guy's father is worth like $3 billion or some shit. And I don't know if he has any kind of fight record or anything, but he's like a teenager or something. 19-year-old kid or something. He's already got a nickname. What the heck is his nickname? I'll find it here. Well, maybe this article doesn't mention it. I don't know. But it's going to be on February 20th, and it's... Kid might as well be nicknamed Rich Kid, but he's not. I'll have to find that out for next week. But as we know, this last fight against Logan Paul was not very impressive. It was kind of sloppy, kind of definitely unexpected that he wasn't able to get the knockout, and he definitely looked rusty. So I don't know. Hopefully, this kid doesn't have that much experience. For him, anyway. We'll find out, though. I'm sure we'll hear about it. I believe that is all we have for now. So I've forgotten something. What do you think, guys? Do we need to do the year in review or the year ahead psychic outlook, Tom?
We'll do that next week. I will give it my full attention.
All right.
Come up with some predictions.
Well, I did have a whole thing of knockouts, big top 10 knockouts and stuff, but it was all compiled by another site and everything. And if we were going to do our year in review thing, we probably should have done that last week. So we're going to move on. I do still have to get John Cameron on the show. We're going to work on getting Iceman John Scully. Let's see, what else for the new year? We're definitely going to get a second crack at Sean Wheelock. I have to ask him about Triad, round 2. See if that's actually going to happen or if they're going to get sued into oblivion. We'll have to ask him about that Mountain Dew habit. See if he plans to do that in the new year. Unreal, this guy. Every picture he's got a Mountain Dew bottle with him. Anyway, so I guess that's it for us for this week. We will catch up next week, and we're going to be getting back into some MMA soon. But we'll work on a guest. Definitely going to see if we can get one for next week, because we still got a little bit of a MMA void until the week after. All right.
All right, guys. Enjoy the fight.
Have a good weekend, guys.
Thanks for stopping by.